Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm finally bringing you my March wrap up and stats. I did do my purchasing and book haul in a separate video this month just because it was my birthday month and I hauled a lot of things. So if you missed that, I will link it up in the cards. I also spent all morning cleaning like our master bathroom, so I kind of feel like I should be filming in there, but didn't get ready for this. What's new? So let's go ahead and get right into it. In the month of March, I read 12 books. Reading off my stats, that was 32 hours of physical reading time. I physically read 2,817 pages, and that averaged to 88 pages an hour. And then on top of that, I did 46 hours of audiobook listening. This broke down to 6 physical books, 2 ebooks, and 4 audiobooks. 8 of these books I previously owned, 1 was an ARC, and 3 of them I acquired throughout the month by purchasing. I had 1 DNF, 2 2-stars, 3 3-stars, 6 4-stars, and 1 5-star, and my average rating for the month was a 3.79. 6 of these books were adult, 4 were YA, and 2 of them were children's, and 33% of the authors I read this month were authors of color. I read 2 2022 releases, 4 that were published in either 2021 or 2020, 3 that were published between 2010 and 2019, and 3 that were published before 2010. I had 6 romance, 4 mystery, 1 fantasy, and then 1 sci-fi dystopian. And I think that's all the stats I have for you for this month. I am gonna go ahead and get into what the books were. As always, I'm gonna start from my lowest rated to highest rated. So starting with my DNF, I did also rate this book because it was a reread, but that was Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I gave this 4 stars when I read it the first time, and I tried to listen to the audiobook this time, and I think I've honestly just outgrown this. Nothing was really appealing about this to me anymore. I'm not really interested in traveling. This is set in like France, but I did still rate it a 2 stars. I think I just dropped my Goodreads rating to 3, so like average my rating now versus my rating when I first read it, but I've just outgrown this. I'm not the target audience for this anymore, so I just stopped reading it. Then also at 2 stars, sadly, I had Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. I was disinterested. I didn't care. Then getting into my 3 stars, I have Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I did listen to this one on audiobook, and I guess my issue with this was, again, that I wasn't the target audience, but also I just didn't really sympathize with the 2 main characters in this. It was like too little too late. So it wasn't terrible. I can understand why people love it, but I also understand why people hate it. There's some characters used in this I'm not sure I like how they were used. There's a lot of like things that I think are questionably done in this, I guess. So this was a low 3-star for me. Then I have In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. This was my final Ruth Ware to catch up on, and I enjoyed this one okay. I was interested throughout the whole thing, and I do acknowledge that a lot of Ruth Ware's stories follow the same tropes, but as I've said, I enjoy the trope that it is, so this was a good enough time. And then my last 3-star was The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket. I do think now, getting into the 3rd book that this is, you start to realize that kind of the same thing is going to happen over and over again, and where the Baudelaire children are in this story is not the most interesting one for me, but I do still think this series is just really fun. So then getting into my 4 stars, I have the Shelf This Book Club pick for March, and that was Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. This one probably was a 5-star prediction for me, but I would still say I was pleasantly surprised by this, even though I did only end up giving it 4 stars, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. We actually follow 2 romances in this, so if you're interested in like a 2-for-1, this was a good one. And I'm excited to continue the series. I have bought the next 2 books already. Boop. And And then I have The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket. This is book 2. I did enjoy this one slightly more than the third book. Next I have Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I did do my reread of this one on audiobook, and I don't think I've ever actually read any of these via audiobook in any of my first reads or rereads, so this was my first try, and I did think that the audiobook was pretty good. I kind of felt the same way about this one that I did when I reread Catching Fire recently, that it doesn't necessarily stand up as a 5-star for me. It's more of a 4-star, but I will keep it as a 5-star on Goodreads. I've reread these many times. I don't know why this time they just didn't hit the same, but I do just absolutely love this series, and they're still very, very good. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mood for the finale of this series this time, but I guess it's not really the finale anymore, because I am going to try to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. We'll see how that goes. Next is something I want to say I finally let myself do, and I, on a whim, purchased Heartstopper Volume 4, and the second it arrived in the mail to me, I sat down and read it, and I gave this one 4 stars. It probably is my least favorite in the series. I think the farther we go, the more we're just like following them in a relationship, and I think this one also starts to follow some heavier topics, which I appreciate the conversation about like how to handle some of the stuff in a relationship, but I do just love like the first 2 volumes where it's just like fluffy and they're falling in love. But I just absolutely love this whole series, and this was still very, very good. Then I have the only book that I actually didn't own this month, which was The Marquess Makes His Move by Diana Quincy. If you're unaware, I have become obsessed with this series. I recently binged like the whole series. I read all 3 of them, and The Marquess Makes His Move actually just came out in March. This is my lowest rated one because, as I like to say about this book, this is like my least favorite tropes done as best as possible. So if you're looking for a diverse historical romance series, definitely check this one out. And then my last 4-star, which is a very high 4-star, you would have already seen me talk about because I read it for my 5-star Picks My TBR for the month of February, but I technically finished it in March, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I didn't think I was gonna love this one, but it lives up to the hype. It really does. If you haven't read this one, you should. And lastly, for my month of March, my only 5-star was book number 2 in the Clandestine Affairs series, The Viscount Made Me Do It by Diana Quincy. Like I said, I've recently become obsessed with this whole series. I'd be willing to claim this as my favorite in the series, even though the first one also is just like amazing in my mind. But I think this is my favorite cover of the series. So does that make me biased towards it a little? Maybe. But absolutely love this one. I know I didn't describe any books in this video, and I'm not going to start now. So if you haven't checked out the series, do it. So that is my month of March. I hope you enjoyed this little recap, but thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again. I usually say very soon, but honestly, when I have the time, I will see you. Bye.